Hey guys, welcome to my new YouTube channel. My name is Andrew McKinnon, and on this channel we discuss everything personal finance, personal development, and daily life as a lawyer. On this video I wanted to talk about a concept that I implemented back in 2018 to reduce my housing expenses, and it's a thing called house hacking. So the concept of house hacking is actually pretty easy. So what it is in my situation, I bought a house and I rented out the other bedrooms. That rental income that comes in each and every month, I can subtract away from the mortgage and then I pay for the difference. When done correctly, a lot of folks can greatly reduce or even completely eliminate their housing expenses, and that is a really great way to start building wealth. Another concept, which is what I'm doing, is buying a single family home, and what I did is I live in the master bedroom and I rented out the other two bedrooms, and those guys paid me rental income to where I take that away from the mortgage and I pay for the difference. What got me interested in house hacking was at the end of 2017. I was a 2-year lawyer at that point and I was living with a buddy, and we were looking for somewhere else to live. And at that time, the apartments that we were interested in rented anywhere between $1,100 and $1,600 per month. And that's when we got to talking, and we thought, you know, hey, if we're paying anywhere between $1,100 and $1,600 just to go to an apartment complex, the rental money's gone at that point. What would it cost to buy a house, rent out some of the bedrooms, and then pay for the difference? Would that be more or less the same as what we're paying now? Is it less? Is it more? And that's what got me into diving into BiggerPockets and YouTube to figure out what house hacking was. So in the beginning of 2018, I started looking for single family homes all the way up to a quad, to keep it into a residential mortgage, to see if there was anything I could find. And unfortunately in Houston, it's pretty hard to find multifamily units like a duplex or a triplex. And a lot of what we have are townhomes, condos, and single family homes. So I decided to go the single family home route and figured I could rent out the other bedrooms to offset some of the mortgage. So in my situation, I started looking for houses around 2018 that I knew I could buy, rent out the other bedrooms, or if it was a multifamily unit, rent out the other units, and wanted to live as cheaply as possible. At that time I was paying about $1,200 to $1,500 in the rent. And so I figured if I could either beat that or pay as much, but I'm paying myself, that it would be a good investment. So that said, I want to go through my first rental property and my first house hack, and the numbers that, or how much I paid, and the rental income that was coming in the first year as compared to the second year, and my plans for this house moving forward. So I bought this house in 2018 and I used a 5% conventional mortgage, and I put $17,500 down. At that time I had 2 friends, luckily, that were looking for a place to stay, so I was able to rent out both bedrooms almost immediately after I bought the house. My first year living in this house, I was renting out both bedrooms and I was getting $1,500 a month in rental income each and every month. A mortgage is about $2,100, so if you do the math, I was paying $600 to live in a house in a great part of Houston, and I thought everything was going great. At the end of that first year, those 2 guys actually went and bought their own places, and I was left with a vacancy and realized that I needed to get some cash reserves so that I can handle a vacancy. At that point, I built up a 6 months reserve for the vacancy and things like repair. And this is when I started learning more on BiggerPockets and through some of the YouTube channels. And so luckily I was able to withstand having a few months of vacancy. Second year, I've only rented out 1 bedroom, and I'm using this 3rd bedroom that I'm in right now as a home office, or working from home at my law firm, as well as making YouTube videos. And so right now I'm renting out that 1 bedroom for $875. So if you take that from the mortgage, I'm paying about $1,260 a month living here. So it's a little bit more than I'm wanting to pay. But I figured a 1 bedroom in Houston, if I wanted to live somewhere with my preferences, it would be costing me around anywhere between $1,400 maybe and $1,600, and it's obviously varies depending on where you want to go, but figured I'm kind of on the lower end of that spectrum, so I'm happy about where my situation is right now. The 2 biggest lessons that I can take away from this that hopefully you can use for your investment property are 2 very basic things that everybody should do when buying an investment property. Is first, you want to take a look at, you want to run your numbers. I didn't run the numbers as well as I should have. I was getting my rental income and the prospectus rental income from sources that I never really checked up on. Moving forward, I'm going to be checking with a lot of real estate agents, property managers, Zillow, Craigslist, using a lot of cross references to figure out what the rent in that area is going to be. And then I'm going to take probably 10 to 15% off of that just to see, you know, hey, if I have to drop the rent 10, 15%, or if that's where the actual rent is, can this property still be profitable? And next, what I didn't do is I didn't take into consideration reserves, which I spoke about earlier. Now this varies, you know, wildly throughout the country, you know, how much reserves you should have, how much you should set aside each month from the mortgage. What I like to do and what I've seen work well here is to take anywhere between 20 and 30% from the rental income and set aside for your reserves. And those are things in case a vacancy comes up, if the roof leaks, if you want to offload this property to a property manager because you don't want to manage the property anymore. And then after that, after I take away that 30%, 20 to 30%, take away the mortgage, and if I'm left with about $100, $200 a month in cash flow, then I know the property's worth pursuing a little bit further to see if the investment makes sense. So that's kind of a quick 10,000 foot view of house hacking and my first house hack. You know, again, I kind of jumped in without really doing the due diligence or the research, so I'm learning along the way. And there's a lot more that goes into it that I didn't talk about. Again, this is my first video, so I'm sure there's plenty of things that I should have gone over that I didn't, and I'll be doing another video just like this later down the road once I get the hang of this YouTube thing. But I'm actually going through a refinance of my mortgage right now. So my next video, I'll break down the refinancing, how much I paid for it, what my new monthly mortgage is going to be, and what can I expect from the rental income as compared to the mortgage. And then we'll just we'll just keep talking about whether this property makes sense. And I think I'll have multiple videos as we get going on of my analysis of this property and whether I need to hang on to it or if it'll be time to sell. So with that said, guys, if this is something that you guys want to follow along, feel free to subscribe and like. Again, this is my first video, so apologize for some of the weird, noises or the editing or just how I'm talking to a camera. This is surprisingly a lot harder to talk to a camera than just to talk to people or a jury and a courtroom. So I'm surprised that this is actually harder, as hard as it is for me. So hopefully, as I move along, these videos will get better. But we'll be following along this property as well as the second property that I'll be picking up hopefully this year, as well as some of the things that I've learned along the ways of being through law school and being a new lawyer. So again, if you guys like this, subscribe, like, and feel free to comment if you want to, and I'll see you guys on the next one.